Yo, party people, number 2. Okay, so we are in the book of Revelation. Those of you that have not seen my previous video, I'm going to ask that you go back to watch the previous video so I don't have to recap everything. But just real quick, so we're in Revelation and we're in chapter 6. So what we saw, I'm just going to read this section again. I looked when he opened the sixth seal, and behold, so this is chapter 6, verse 12. And there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood, and the stars of heaven fell to the earth as a fig tree drops its late figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind. Then the sky receded, as a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. And the kings of the earth, the great men, the rich men, the commanders, the mighty men, every slave and every free man, hid themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne, from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who is able to stand? Okay, so right from the very beginning, we're seeing here that there was a great earthquake. So that's very straightforward, right? There's no doubt what that is. Earthquakes can represent many things. There can be spiritual earthquakes, but it's talking about cosmic disturbances and physical things, right? So for sure there's going to be a great earthquake. And behold, the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood. So that is why all the Christians freak out about the blood moons, right? It's definitely referring to eclipses. The commentaries were in agreement about that 100%. A couple years ago, we had 6 blood moons or something in one year, and it was like the first time in 100, I don't even know how long. John Hagee did a whole bunch of stuff on that. This was a few years back. But so that's why Christians are always paying attention to what's happening in the sky, because while these other circumstances can be consequences of war, the unusual thing that is going to precipitate Christ's coming, just like at his birth, there was a giant star in heaven that not the Pharisees, the wise men, right? I can't remember what they're called now. They were like similar to, they're Chaldeans. I think they were called Chaldeans. Followed the star and found Jesus. Same thing's going to be happening at the time of his coming, right? Right before, during the birth pangs and before he comes, there's going to be all these signs in the heavens, and this is part of it. So, and it's going to be signs on earth as well. So we have the earthquake, we have the definitely have the eclipses and things going on with the sun and the moon, and then then this is the part that's interesting. I mean, it's all interesting. But it says in verse 13, and the stars of heaven fell to the earth as a fig tree drops its late figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind. Okay, so, and then it says, then the sky receded as a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. So I want to go back to Isaiah, because this is referring back to a vision that Isaiah had back in the Old Testament. So Isaiah, let me show you my map real quick. I think I did this last video too. So here we've got the kingdom of Israel. Here's the northern kingdom that broke away. They were usurpers. Here's the southern kingdom, the kings of Judah. Here's little Isaiah. See him right here? So here, this line delineates the fall of the northern kingdom to the kingdom of Assyria. And then this is where they fall and they're taken captive into Babylon, right? The southern kingdom. So the southern kingdom lasts a bit longer, but here's Isaiah. Isaiah is there at the very end before they fall. And then after they fall, and he's seen the corruption that's beginning to reveal itself, or it's been revealing itself, depending on the king, down in the southern kingdom as well. So he's a product of his time, right? We're all products of our time. There's no such thing as a coincidence as to when you were born. You were born for a reason. So I want to read to you chapter 34, because 34 is very similar language, and it's not only dealing with things that he was seeing here back then, but it's also dealing, it's a future vision of what we're seeing here in Revelation. So Isaiah chapter 34, it says, come near, you nations, to hear and heed, you people. Let the earth hear and all that is in it, the world and all things that come forth from it. For the indignation of the Lord is against all nations, and his fury against all their armies. He has utterly destroyed them. He has given them over to the slaughter. Also their slain shall be thrown out. Their stench shall rise from their corpses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. All the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled up like a scroll. All their hosts shall fall down, and the leaf falls as the leaf falls from the vine, and as fruit falling from a fig tree. So what I want to bring your attention to here is when it talks about all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved. Okay, where we heard of hosts of heaven, and then and he's comparing it to the falling of the vine from the fig tree, and then it says, where else did it say it? and then it says all their hosts shall fall down, and then before that it says all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled up like a scroll. Okay, so I want to read to you what it says here. It says, and this in Revelation, this the sixth seal that we're covering, chapter 6, verse 13, it says, and the stars of heaven fell to the earth, as a fig tree drops its laid figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind. Then the sky receded as a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. Okay, so that's very similar language. The difference is instead of saying host of heaven, he's saying stars. So we're not, I always say that the Bible interprets itself, right? So where have we seen that before? So for sure we've seen it. We haven't gotten there yet, though. Chapter 12 in Revelation, it says, chapter 12, verse 3, and another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 diadems on his heads. And his tail drew a third of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. Okay, so that is a reference to Lucifer being kicked out of heaven and taking a third of the angels with him, right? His deception is so powerful, he was able to deceive a third of the angels who stand before God, who knew Jesus, who knew the Holy Spirit. He was able to convince them to follow him. And so that is a picture of that moment of when they were kicked out of heaven. And so let's read this again. So chapter 6, verse 13, and the stars of heaven fell to the earth as a fig tree drops its late figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind. So again, when you go back to Isaiah, when it's talking about the fig tree here, the commentary, my old school commentary, went into a lot of detail about the fig tree that they're describing here. They said that this is a fig tree where the fruit that is left has already gone through summer, so it's already gone through the spring, summer, and now it's in the winter, and it's still holding on, right? It's still holding on, but now a great wind is going to come, and it's going to drop, and it's going to force that fruit out to fall to the ground. So, and then furthermore, it talks about this Isaiah prophecy when it talks about the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and their host is in verse 34, verse 4. All their hosts shall fall down. So this was. The commentaries for this Isaiah verse was saying that this was referring to pagan deities, so demonic activity, demonic things, right? That is definitely could be an aspect here as well, right? So remember, everything's going to be judged, and their season and their time of power and authority here on earth is coming to an end, right? So the language of the fig tree in the winter at the end, and the figs falling at the end, not able to hold on anymore, and the references to the stars and the host of heaven, all of that is language referring to that you could see is referring to the Luciferian kingdom as it is now, right? Then it says, then the sky receded as a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. So we cannot even comprehend what that would be. I know that many preachers in the past, I think Hal Lindsey was one that said that when you have nuclear war, that's what it looks like, a scroll receding. And it talks about every mountain and island moved out of its place. That's insane. We can't even imagine what that would look like or what that would be. And then it says, and the kings of the earth, the great men, the rich men, the commanders, the mighty men, every slave and every free man hid themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him is capitalized, who sits on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath has come, and who is able to stand. So the commentaries, well, first of all, what's crazy about that is it is very clear that these people know what's happening, and they know who's coming, right? They know what's happening. But then what the commentaries brought up, which was funny, I didn't even think about this, about how silly this sounds, how they're scared and they're freaking out, and they're like, save us from the wrath of the Lamb. Okay, all I thought of was Monty Python and that rabbit. The rabbit that attacks them, because they were making comments about how silly that statement is in a way, because the lambs in general, they're gentle and sweet and kind, and they eat grass, but this lamb don't play. So anyways, all right, so there we have it. We got through the sixth seal. I'm out of time. Okay, Jesus is coming. Read your Bible. Peace.